35-year-old lady was stabbed to death by her 16-year-old neighbor after she served him food to eat. And the reason why this teenager killed this woman will leave you speechless. So guys, fasten your seatbelts, because this story is not for the faint of hearts. But before we continue, don't forget to click the like button, share with your friends, and comment what country you're watching from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this would be a good time to click the subscribe button. Don't forget to also turn on the notification button so whenever there is a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. Now, this incident happened in a neighborhood in Badagry, Lagos, Igbekele Street to be precise, and it happened on Sunday, the 8th of May 2022. And according to what was said, the victim, whose name was Esther Ijoma Obasi, was said to have gone to her neighbor's apartment just opposite hers to cook her lunch. Esther had run out of gas in her own apartment while cooking, so when her gas finished, she asked her next door neighbor if she could finish cooking with her own gas cooker. And the neighbor accepted and let her into her apartment to finish cooking her food. After Esther was done, she thanked her neighbor, carried her pot of food, and went back into her own apartment. Now, aside from this neighbor Esther had gone to cook in her apartment, Esther also had other neighbors, and there was a particular next door neighbor who had 3 children. And one of those children happened to be a 16-year-old boy by the name of Chinonso Ejike. Now, it was said that after Esther had finished cooking from the first neighbor's apartment, she served some food for Chinonso Ejike. It's unclear if Chinonso had asked her, it's unclear if Chinonso had begged her, but obviously I would assume Chinonso might have asked, or might have insinuated, or might have said that he was hungry. Because immediately Esther finished cooking, Esther dished him a plate of food. And that was it. That was the last thing Esther did for this boy before she went back into her own apartment. And this is where things turned red. Now, we know that Esther had gone to cook in her neighbor's apartment, then she had gone back to her own apartment. She had also given Chinonso a plate of food, and she has returned back to her own apartment. Now, according to the neighbor whose house Esther had gone to cook at, she claimed that around 9 p.m. that night, she heard screaming along with other neighbors in the compound. It was a compound with different houses, different apartments. So they claimed they heard screaming, but they weren't so sure because this was night and it's unclear if all their generators were on. But I would assume that that would be the time generators would be on, because that would most likely delay or reduce the frequency of the scream that they might have been hearing. Eventually, they picked up on the screaming and they all came outside to see who was screaming and what was going on, only for them to see 16-year-old Chinonso covered in blood and screaming, "I don't kill him, I don't kill him, I don't finally kill him." This was a total shock to everybody watching. The next thing they know, they see this boy running out of the compound. Some people in the street also claim that they saw him running in the streets, yelling and screaming, "I have killed her, I don't kill him, I don't kill him finally." And he was just running like a madman. Back at the compound, people were wondering, what happened? Who did he kill? What's going on? While they were all wondering what was happening or what had just happened and who Chinonso had just killed, because they only saw blood in his hand, they also started noticing blood trails from the front of the apartment compound that led to the backyard of the entire property. Slowly, the neighbors followed the trail of blood all the way behind the building when they noticed that someone was sinking in the swampy, bushy area behind the compound. Upon closer look, they realized that the person that they were looking at, who was covered in blood and shaking her head slowly as though she was fighting for her life, was their neighbor, Esther Ijoma. Instantly, they raised more alarm. They screamed, and more neighbors came. Esther was dragged out of the swamp that she had been supposedly submerged in, almost as if the person who killed her was trying to drown her in the swamp. Esther was immediately pulled out of it and rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, it was said she had lost a lot of blood and was pronounced dead on arrival. The news of Esther's death shocked the entire neighborhood. And at this point, everyone knew that the person they were looking for was 16-year-old Chinonso Ejike. He was the one that they had seen covered in blood. He was the one that they had seen running, shouting, and admitting to have killed somebody. And clearly, everyone knew Esther Ijoma was the victim. Chinonso Ejike was nowhere to be found. He clearly did not come back home that night. And the question in everybody's mouth was, what happened to Esther Ijoma? Why did this little boy kill her? How did Esther go from dishing food for this little boy to being submerged and covered in her own pool of blood in a swamp behind their compound. How did things escalate so quickly? Did they fight? Was there something going on between these two people? I mean, what could be going on between 16-year-old Chinonso Ejike and 35-year-old Esther Ijoma that would have led to this unforeseen tragedy? Or was this boy possessed? Because immediately he did what he did, he began to yell, "I don't kill him finally," as though someone asked him to do it. I mean, my first thought was this guy might have been possessed. This guy might have been led by someone to do it, because why would you want to kill your neighbor in the compound when everyone was clearly present? And then you drag her body to the backyard. Didn't he think that someone would have seen him? And why did he say, "I don't kill him finally"? As though it's something that he had been planning on doing for the longest of time. Again, before we continue, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share it to your social media pages, WhatsApp, Facebook, or Instagram. And also let me know what country you're watching this video from, because when you learn why this woman was killed, you would be shocked at the extent people can go to do evil. After it was announced that Esther had died, the hunt for 16-year-old Chinonso began. At this point, it was no longer news that they had a suspect or a possible killer, who was obviously the 16-year-old boy who had ran off screaming and basically letting the whole world know that he had killed someone. Luckily for the entire neighborhood, it did not take long before Chinonso was found. He was caught sleeping in an uncompleted building, still within the neighborhood, the very next morning. It was said he was even in possession of the deceased's mobile phone. The people who found him quickly identified him to be the 16-year-old boy that everyone is talking about, and instantly he was arrested and taken to the nearest police station. It was in this police station that he would make his first confession. By this time, the crime scene had already been assessed by the police. They were able to deduct that she was stabbed in the middle of the compound and her body was dragged all the way to the back into the swamp. And while assessing the swampy, bushy area, the police also found 2 knives. One particular knife was bent to broken, the other one covered in blood. Esther's body had also been observed to have been stabbed 8 times. Her face, chest, and basically all over her body. It was almost as though this was a massacre. What could have prompted this boy to butcher this woman like this? In the police station, Chinonso agreed to killing Esther. He did not deny it. But when asked why he did it, well, you will not believe what he said. At first, he said he did it because he asked her to give him a recently newly purchased iPhone, and she refused. That is to say, Chinonso saw the phone. It was believed that after he had eaten and he was returning the plate to her house, he spotted the mobile phone and told Esther, "I like this your phone, give it to me." And Esther was like, thought this was just a joke, or thought this was his way of complimenting her for buying a new phone, and she did not take him seriously. And while she was just laughing and brushing him off, her phone rang, and as she picked it to answer the caller, this boy attacked her with the knife, stabbing her multiple times. Maybe that would explain after he had dragged her body to the bush, he ran away with her phone. This was the confession that Chinonso gave that blew the minds of so many people. You mean to tell me that it's because you asked her for a mobile phone and she refused to give you, that was why you killed her? Clearly this seems insane. This was crazy. This did not even make sense to the police, nor did it make sense to anyone else, because they felt that the way he did it felt very personal, and for him to drag her body all the way to the backyard of the compound to submerge it in a swamp felt as though that it could have been much more than just the mobile phone. No one believed that he did such a thing just because of the mobile phone, in as much as that is very possible, but it was almost like there could have been so much more than just the mobile phone. But could it also be that it was just the iPhone? Because eventually people would learn something very shocking about this 16-year-old boy. It turned out that Chinonso Ejike, this 16-year-old killer, was freshly coming out of prison weeks before he killed this woman. Chinonso was literally just being released from prison before he did this. And it was surprising to a lot of people to learn that this kid had actually gone to jail. This kid had actually been arrested. And when they asked why he was arrested at first, it was revealed that Chinonso was a thief. He had been involved in a series of mobile phone theft around the neighborhood, around barbing salons, in people's houses, in churches. This boy just goes around stealing people's phones, and he was caught at a certain time and was arrested by the police. So while spending his time in prison, after a while he was released and brought back home to his mother and sisters. And barely few weeks after he was released from prison, he killed this woman after the woman fed him. So people learning that this boy was a phone thief in the past sort of wanted to believe that, yeah, there's a chance that he probably killed Esther because of the mobile phone. However, Chinonso was soon transferred to Panti police station, and in that new police station where he was moved to, it was said he was tortured a little because clearly the police there did not buy his story. They did not buy, they believed that there could have been more, and eventually there was more. Chinonso finally spoke out the true reason why he killed this woman and basically how he actually did it. Now, according to Chinonso, the night he killed Esther, he had just finished eating the food that Esther had given him, and he waited till it was dark, around those 8-9 p.m. And then he went to Esther's house, knocked at the door, asked her to come outside that he wanted to show her something. Almost as if he had seen something that was weird, or he had seen people doing something weird behind the compound. He was just trying to lure this woman to the dark corner of the entire compound. And Esther felt maybe this guy was actually going to show him something genuine. She came out with her phone, using it as a torchlight to see where they were going to. And that was how this boy, out of nowhere, pounced on her and began stabbing her. While she screamed and tried to fight her way out, the boy continued. Eventually, Esther lost a lot of blood and fell to the ground. And that was when he now dragged her body in an attempt to bury her corpse or bury her alive or submerge her into the swamp behind the compound. But unfortunately for him, people had heard Esther screaming and they had already come outside to see what was going on when he now realized himself and started screaming that he had killed her finally, and began to run. So why did he do it, and why was he saying that he had killed her finally, almost as if this is something he had been planning to do? It turned out that killing Esther was something that he had been planning to do, except it was not just him. It was also discovered that this boy had a group of friends that were later suspected to be cultists. So we can easily say Chinonso was in a cult group and he had a group of friends who were cultists. And it turned out that all his friends had had eyes for the life or for the head or for the blood of this woman. But why? Many of these cultists did not even know this woman. Only Chinonso knew this woman. Why would the friends of this boy want this woman dead? Now, according to Chinonso, he said the reason why he targeted Esther was because some weeks back or some days back, or while he was around, he was peeping at Esther while she was bathing. He was peeping through a window, even made a hole at her neck to peep her while she's changing. And Esther caught him peeping and then scolded him and reported him to his mother. His mother also scolded him, and I don't know if it was said the mother beat him or flogged him or punished him. It was unclear what the mother did. But Chinonso said that the fact that Esther reported him to his mother offended him, and it was embarrassing for him. And when he went to tell his group of friends, when he went to tell his boys, when he went to tell his cult members, they encouraged him to kill her, that she had embarrassed him. And every time and every day that passes by when he did not do it, they kept pressuring him to do it. That was why when he eventually killed her, he was shouting or he was yelling, "I don't kill her finally. I don't kill her finally. I have finally killed her," and was running to only God knows where. So obviously, at this point, it became clear the reason why this 16-year-old boy killed this woman was something very flimsy, stupid, and personal. But that is not all, because eventually something new would come up, something very detailed, a specific detail that was relevant to his main purpose of killing her would also be added to whatever information he had already given. Yes, he told us, or he said, that the reason why he killed her or the reason why he targeted her was because she shamed him for peeping at her. It will later be discovered, or it will later be revealed, that this 16-year-old boy was in a cult group, and he was encouraged or told that if he wanted to increase his rank in that cult group, he would have to kill somebody. So that was why he chose Esther Ijoma Obasi. Maybe the fact that she had shamed him for peeping at her, or she had scolded him or reported him to his mother for peeping at her, also played a role. But the major reason why this boy actually wanted to kill this woman was because he wanted his rank in his cult group to be elevated. Not because he wanted to get back at her, or not because he hated her for what she did to him. This was a very selfish, evil act. She was a victim of child's play, because there was literally no reason why this boy had to kill this woman. It's not as if this woman had any resentment for him. Even though he did what he did and she reported him, this lady was still nice to him. This lady was still treating him well. This lady even gave him food because he said he was hungry. Because let's face it, she is most likely old enough to be his mother. So she was forgiving. She was kind to this boy. So there was no reason for him to still linger on the hatred that he had for her because she reported him to the mother. If for some reason she was rude to him or hated him or castigated him or didn't care for him at all, yes, I would get why he would be still angry at her. But at the same time, this woman was forgiving. This woman had forgiven him and even moved past it, to the point she even made food for him, served it for him, and gave him to eat. It's sad to think that she gave him the food that gave him the energy to kill her. Maybe if she had starved him, he would have been so hungry that he wouldn't even have the strength to do it. Now, this is the only confusing part of this story that is still puzzling to me. The fact that there were 2 knives found in the crime scene. How was it possible that he had 2 kitchen knives with him? Is there a chance that he was not the only one there? Because I'm starting to feel that he might not have been the only one present, or he might not have been the only one involved in killing her. Because 16-year-old boy killing this man and being able to drag her body to the backyard seemed like something 2 people could have done. Maybe 2 teenagers. Is it possible that this boy is protecting someone else because, he's in a cult group? Maybe if he snitches, he might get stitches. What if he was not the only person there? Because he keeps saying he was the only person who did it. So how did he have 2 knives? And how was one so bent to the point that it almost broke? A lot of people have the opinion that he did not do it alone because of the 2 knives present at the scene. But it's hard to tell, because as at this point, Chinonso is still claiming that he was the only one who did it. Maybe eventually, as time goes on, because this case is still new, so there is a chance that he might confess the names of all the people who led him to do this, or if anyone else was also involved in killing this woman directly. What happened to Esther Ijoma was very unfortunate, unprovoked, and just pure wickedness, all from the heart of a little child. So guys, let me know what you think about the story. Do you think Chinonso had help? And do you think the police should track down other members of his cult and arrest them too? Or should this be strictly him? Even though I feel that he might have had help. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you have subscribed by now, and I also hope you have turned on your notification button so that whenever there is a new video, you will be the first to get notified. Thank you guys for watching, and also check out my channel for more videos that you might have missed. Thank you.